if I'm misspeaking here, Rick Simonson's here this evening. I believe he felt relatively confident that he could move pretty quickly. So it would set it back maybe 2 weeks?
Couple weeks.
You need about 2 weeks to figure the green cans back into it if that's so desired.
Okay,
Otherwise, we can take those as is.
Can we approve the rates without the green cans tonight?
No, you're not approving the rates. You're directing staff to renotice them and then bring back to the
Okay,
council.
can we do that tonight?
Lisa has.
I believe these are the rates that were noticed under Prop 218, with the exception of the green can. And the hearing was, the public hearing was continued.
No,
It was not continued.
It wasn't continued.
I'll have to look at the minutes. I thought it was.
That was December 15th.
So if we're starting all over again, we can put any numbers forward. Is that correct, Ben?
If you are starting all over again, you will need to have a new rate study to substantiate that the rates are in compliance with Prop 218, and that will take time.
Okay, but there were two sets of rates that were put forward in the December meeting. Both of them are here on item 15. One is the one on the far right that represents the numbers on the right-hand side. The other was the smaller increase, which is 2404, 3846, 7692, and 114.15. And I would rather see those rates move forward, and then we look at the services, we do the cost analysis, and we charge the $5 green can. Now those middle rates we already did a rate study on those, so we wouldn't need to do another rate study, just add in exactly with the same amount of time that we were going to have to do the ones on the right, just add in the $5 green cans. Isn't that correct? Rick?
So you could approve, it's my understanding, I'm not the attorney, so I don't want to speak for counsel. These rates could be approved, is my understanding, because the notice was a maximum rate that could be charged.
And it was continued from the last meeting, we just checked.
I believe.
Did you look at the minutes?
I
don't see a motion.
I saw the minutes. I know that the item to bring back further discussion was continued. The public hearing that was noticed for under Prop 218 was not continued. I specifically remember that it wasn't. The minutes do not suggest that.
I'll just ask again, what rates can we propose tonight? Look at these on the right.
You can instruct us to do, I believe, both. One of them,
That can be imposed today. I just want to re-emphasize that.
That's right. It's
No rates can be
directing us
imposed
to go back and initiate this process. I think you can do either, but the one that includes the $5 green can will need to have a firm like HF.
Let's leave that in my mind. We'll do that.
I believe that we can go ahead and
You
initiate the
can
218
do-
process.
You can do the rates that were previously noticed, and you wanted to re-notice them. If you wanted to lower rates,
Can you finish your statement, please?
if you want to do lower rates, you still would need to do the re-noticing. The rates that were studied were,
They're not going to be lower, so just talk about what happens with the 2 green cans.
Just talk about how do we deal with
you
adopting those
we
rates.
cannot change the rates without going back and getting a new rate study that is in compliance with Prop 218's
how do we
requirements.
adopt those rates right there without the green ones?
Without the green waves, you direct the city manager to initiate the Prop 218 noticing requirements. That takes 45 days.
I move that the city manager adopt those
And I will second it.
for those rates.
Can we
Discussion?
have a discussion?
Yeah. I would probably vote no because it's would be a 60% increase, I think, over our current rate. Looking at the proposed rates by the Environmental Committee, I did make a comparison of those rates with Hillsborough's. Our rates would be about 5% in each category higher than Hillsborough. And the other, I think there's enough uncertainty here as to the underlying assumptions in the way of costs that I would hate to go, a 60% increase at this point in time and then make a big adjustment. I would certainly favor the other.
So I agree with Councilman Carlson because with the Environmental Programs Committee studied this and they felt that this was a reasonable increase. And I think that if we go back and have to renotice to get this lower rate, then we could also add the $5 per green can with that, because we're kind of bundling a new rate study, a rate notice.
If you, well, there's two, let me separate out what you said. There's a new noticing requirement under
Right.
Prop 218.
For the
But to
lower rate.
substantiate
Mhm.
an additional cost or additional rate for more
The
green
$5.
waste, then you would need to direct
Another rate study.
another rate study. So
Which
those
I
are two different
understand would
things.
take about 2 weeks or something, right?
Right.
Okay,
So-
so that's a reasonable, to me, that's a reasonable amount of time to take the, I guess, baby step, right now, so that we can not hit our residents with such a huge increase, and then continue to do the investigations and the studies to get down to what the real costs are.
I'm in favor of going with the 2404, 3846, 7692 numbers, which were the midpoint that were reviewed in December. Adding in the green cans, those rates we already done the rate study on it, so you're just adding in the green can, and that would be additive, really. And I think that that's, given the fact that we're looking at the services we want, given the fact that we're looking at the the cost and doing some due diligence on how we got to where we are, I think that that's a more prudent approach, and time is of the essence. And I think either way, we're going to have to spend about the same amount of time.
But we have a motion.
There's been a motion and a second.
And a second.
And the $38.
So I would now ask for a vote on the motion made by Council Member McKeith.
Which is the rates that are up there?
Yes. So, we have a second, so all in favor? 2 of us. Opposed? 3.
Opposed.
Okay, so the motion dies.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion to direct staff to look at the lower rates that we already done the rate study for, that were discussed very briefly December 15th, as having those as our proposed rates, adding in the $5 green cans for cans number 3 through N, and do that post haste and as quickly as possible. Set the time frame for doing the notice meeting, etc.
When you say December 15th rates, what are the December 15th rates?
So it's in your staff report. It's in the staff report.
The council was presented both sets of rates. I kind of use the 32 gallon as the reference point, because that's the most used can.
I am still very concerned about the hole that we're digging for ourselves. I'm sure it's going to be a very big hole, and I think we're making a big mistake, but clearly that's the way the majority of the council wants to do it, so I don't think we've got any choice.
I just want to, excuse my interruption, clarification from the gentleman who, Rick, thank you, that did the rate study. Can you explain clearly what rate study you did and what rate study you would need to do with the motion on the floor?
Why don't you come up there?
Thank you. And yes, I'm Rick Simonson with F&H Consultants, and we did assist the SPWMA with the annual rate review of Allied. And I apologize, the December meeting, I was not part of that meeting, so I do not know the extent of where those proposed rates came from.
Okay.
I do know what we are charged with is understanding the compensation that Allied should be provided. So that is the extent of what the rate study did. So going forward, it's based on the bid that was provided by Recology and Competitive Environment. So again, I apologize, I'm not familiar with what was presented in December.
So to clarify then, from what I'm hearing, the December rates referenced by the Vice Mayor may or may not have been part of your rate study and may require additional time to evaluate those under Prop 218. Is that accurate?
Well, it's my understanding with the Prop 218 notice that did go out, that you were setting maximum rates, so you would have the flexibility of something less.
That's true, but they were
And
maximum.
And so, since the rate study combined with the Allied study and also with